It's a new year and, of course, a new you, but many of us don't know what to say beyond that, what to do beyond that. So, my question to you is, are you feeling sluggish or stuck? Are you feeling like, or getting diagnosis that nobody can explain, like an autoimmune disease? Why do you have this autoimmune condition? Well, could it be that your lymphatic system is congested or clogged? Huh. Well, we're in luck this day because today in the classroom we have our body whisperer, Dr. Jennifer Gramith. She is not only a naturopathic doctor, but she is a certified lymphedema therapist. And I bet you that if you go to a lymphatic specialist or getting lymphatic massages or anything like that, chances are Dr. Jennifer Gramith has trained that therapist because she's trained people from all over the world. Well, it's been a while since we've talked specifically about the lymphatic system. And so if you are feeling a little stuck or sluggish, Dr. Jen is going to teach us all about the lymphatic system and how to detoxify it. So fasten your seatbelts because you're going to need your paper, your pencil, and you're going to take lots of notes today because we're going to learn and grow together.
And when you need a friend, you can count on me. I'll be right here, waiting for you.
Hi, my name is Lillian McDermott, and I'm a certified life coach, a certified holistic cancer coach, and the host of the Lillian McDermott radio show Classroom. If this is your first time in the classroom, please know I've been waiting for you. This is a safe place where you can go when you need a friend. It is my commitment to provide natural ways to heal, and it is my mission to make awareness, responsibility, and truth a part of our everyday life. And I hope you, my listening and viewing friend, will feel empowered to embrace a new truth and live the life of your dreams. As I said before, it's been a while. The first time I ever met Dr. Jen, we really focused on the lymphatic system. But as I got to know her a little bit more, oh my gosh, she was a Swiss Army knife of all this information. And you know what? It seems like to me that all roads lead to our lymphatic system. And since it is our sole purpose in life to give and receive love and knowledge, I am grateful that Dr. Jen is here to do just that. Welcome back to the classroom. I just love it when you join me.
I love it too. Thank you. I'm looking forward to today. This is a great topic that I think, has kind of awakened in the last decade in medicine. And still, there's a lot of people that really don't understand its potential. So we're going to talk about that today. And you'll probably be surprised in, certain conditions that are associated with lymphatic dysfunction or congested lymphatic system, as you said.
Yeah, in fact, it's been a while since we talked specifically about the lymphatic system, and many people don't understand that, like you said, that there are so many different conditions. So I'm really excited, and I'm taking lots of notes, and I hope everybody else out there is too. And so I also want to add that on top of learning from Dr. Jen is giving away her formulas, her Dr. Jen's immune essential formula. So it's immune essential formula kit. And so I don't know if you have it near you, but if
I
you
do.
do, yes, show it to
Yeah.
everybody. So one of you, so start texting me, emailing us at lily@whenyouneedafriend.com. Text me at 407-373-5959, and we'll claim your kit, and then we'll put your names in the winner's basket, and we will get the name from the winner's basket, one name, next week, a week from today. And so let's get started, Dr. Jen, because I am so excited to learn more. Because the more you talk about the lymphatic system, the more I realize how all roads seem to go through our lymphatic system. It's kind of like the Panama Canal that's trying to get to all these other locations. So share a little bit about the lymphatic system and why is it so important that we pay attention to it?
Right. So that's a great question. And this past weekend I was at the Faith and Medicine Conference, and I was sitting with Dr. Contreras. We were doing the Q&A board for all of the attendants to answer questions. And, one of the key things that Dr. Contreras said to the audience is that, when they ask, what is the most important thing for me to do to stop reoccurrence of cancer? And he says, immune system, immune system, immune system. So the lymphatic system is the highway that the immune system travels on. So picture this. Picture you're on the interstate and just like it is in Atlanta and the big cities, you're trying to get to your destination, but then you hit gridlock, traffic everywhere. Well, imagine if you were in an accident and you're, way ahead of all of that gridlock and you're trying to get the ambulance and the emergency vehicles there, which would represent your immune system in order to save your life. Well, when there's that much gridlock, you can't get there in a timely fashion. That's the same thing that's happening in your body, in the lymphatic system, which is the highway, your immune system, which are the ambulance. It can't get to the insulted, area. So whether you are exposed to a pathogen, you have parasites, you have cancer, it's not able to get there quick enough to destroy it and save, the life. And this is what everybody, well, the large population is dealing with, congested lymphatic system to some degree. So whether you put your lymphatic health to the point that it is at a dead stop, that you're not getting the help that you need, or that it's sluggish and you've slowed down your immune response. Both are very critical and will lead to chronic illness. So it's not just cancer, it's heart disease, diabetes, all of the, number one killers here in the United States and worldwide. So the lymphatic system is that highway, basically for your immune system to travel on. So it is critical that you keep it decongested and flowing and moving.
That is absolutely true. And so how do we know what are some of the signs and symptoms that somebody might be having that can say, oh, wow, I've been going to this doctor, they've been giving me medication for constipation, for example, or not being able to sleep, whatever it is. Instead of saying, you need to detoxify your lymphatic system, what are some of these signs and symptoms that we can look for to say by becoming our own MD, our own medical detective, what are some of these signs that we can look at and say, huh, where do I need to go? What do I need to do next? Instead of going to an allopathic doctor, maybe where else can I go? So what would you say to that?
Yes, it's really all signs and symptoms that you have are a sign that you have a congested lymphatic system because, there is the lymphatic flow, which, is the stagnation or the blockages in the lymphatic system. Your lymphatic system aids in removing heavy metals. And so when you have heavy metals that can, get into the brain, cause neuroinflammation, it can cause a weakness in the organs, glands, and system. So everything goes back to the lymphatic system and the health of lymphatic system. That's kind of where it starts. It starts to get congested, and then you have these toxins that cannot leave the body like they're supposed to. So you can't excrete them, and they just build up in your tissues and your organs and glands until you become very symptomatic. And then you're diagnosed with a chronic illness. And so, as far as other visible symptoms, it would be skin issues, whether it's eczema, psoriasis, rashes, it would be headaches, it would be pain of any kind, acute and chronic. It could be hormone imbalance. Um, all of these things are associated with the lymphatic, and that should, and even your metabolism, and like we said, I think last time when we got together, it was, statistically, they're saying 94% of the population is metabolically broken. Well, that goes right back to your lymphatic health. Ladies, those of you who have sore and tender breast, on occasion or, often, that is all signs of congested lymphatic system. That should be your first concern with breast health, is if your breasts are tender and sore. And, I highly recommend that you get lymphatic therapy for that to prevent breast cancer, because it's in, just an epidemic proportion these days. And we're seeing younger and younger women, 17, 18, 20-year-olds diagnosed with breast cancer, and that should not be. But it just shows you the state of the population's lymphatic system, immune system.
Okay, when you talk about this congestion and how you can excrete it, with
Hmm.
our circulatory system, we have a pump. We have a
Right.
pump that allows everything to circulate for the most part, unless you have congestion in your veins or in that system that is trying to pump the blood, and that's why some people get heart attacks and other things. But with the lymphatic system, in order to move it, what are some of the things? And I also want to talk about the science behind this, because there's a lot of science has changed over and over and over again. One can say, I follow the science, but if you follow the science, you have to follow the fact that it could be wrong as well, and it has a new direction. You have to be flexible to that. So, how has the science helped the progression of the lymphatic system to flow?
Right. Well, that's the thing is, we've really not had a focus on the lymphatic system for years and years. It's only been in the last decade that it's kind of gotten center stage and spotlight on it. So, it wasn't even identified really, and wasn't even thought of back when I was in nursing school and learning about all the systems of the body. I had a chapter on the lymphatic system. Every other system of the body, we had textbooks. I mean, exhaustive study on those systems. So when I became a naturopath, and Dr. Cowden had mentioned to me, because I was struggling with some of my patients who had some chronic illness, he said to me, Jennifer, are you dressing the lymphatic system? And I'm like, what do you mean? I didn't even know what he meant, because I knew so little about the lymphatic system and the importance of it. And so he actually encouraged me to use a similar device of the XP2 on my patients. We got remarkable results. One of the patients had lung cancer and was having to have his lungs aspirated on a weekly basis, which is a very painful procedure. And he was, just receiving more palliative care, expecting to die at any time. And we were able to remove that fluid inflammation off of his lungs, get him off of oxygen. He started, getting up out of bed, cleaning the house, pressure washing the house, and doing all the things that he thought he would never be able to do. So it was dramatic changes. I had other lymphedema clients who, just weren't having success with the bandaging and wrapping. We were able to reduce the size of the extremity back down to a normal size without bandaging and wrapping. So there's just so much possibility, when you stimulate the lymphatic system and you address the lymphatic system. Like you said, it doesn't have an automatic pump, and this is part of the issue. Is so many people live sedentary lives, and it's difficult. Like, with me here in an office sitting behind a desk, if the majority of my day is sitting, I am not stimulating my lymphatic system, because it takes movement, exercise to stimulate your lymphatic system. It doesn't have an automatic pump like the heart. You have these little tiny pumps around the vessels called lymphangions that when you move will start to move that lymph. And another issue is con the consistency of the lymphatic fluid. It should be like water, easily flowing through the body, no density, because the vessels of the lymphatic system are tiny. They could be the size of 2 to 3 strands of hair tied together. So they're really tiny. So imagine if the consistency of your lymphatic fluid is more like butter or cottage cheese, which is what we see most often, instead of water, trying to get that into those little tiny vessels and get those moving through this miraculous system, taking those to the lymph nodes, it's going to slow things down. That's the analogy with the highway and the interstate, the gridlock, the lymphatic fluid in which the white blood cells travel through is thick. It's like quicksand in a lot of cases, and that just leads to stagnation. And if you think of a stagnated pond, what does that breed? That breeds infection, you know, disease. And so that is not what you want going on in the body. You want your fluids, whether it's lymph or blood, to be moving constantly. And so that is why the lymphatic system is such an important system. And as practitioners like myself, we use this system to direct our clients' immune systems to where it needs to be faster. So we quicken the response time of their immune system. The faster that it works and flows through the body, the better their health is.
And I can talk about this now because I was promised by Facebook and YouTube that they weren't going to censor this language. So I'm actually going to say this word, and hopefully we'll see if they take us
Yeah.
out or remove us. But people who have received the shot for
Hmm.
the COVID, I'm finding that they're getting more and more and more sick, or it's lasting longer. Do you suggest that maybe the lymphatic system could have been affected, and maybe people that are having like long COVID, maybe lymphatic system detoxification would work for them?
Yeah, yeah, and I've actually seen that with lots of clients here in our office, and then the offices, nationwide that are doing assisted lymphatic therapy. It definitely helps with long COVID symptoms. So whether it's the virus, it's the jab, it does really impact your lymphatic system, much like it does the blood in causing clots and things like that. So the thickening of the fluid, causes blood clots if it's in the blood. The
Mhm.
thickening of the fluid in the lymph causes stagnation and blockage and just slows down your immune response, and
Mhm.
patients aren't able to heal. It's like a severe case, of diabetes. When a person is extremely diabetic
Mhm.
and blood glucose is up and their body is in such a state of inflammation, they can't heal from the simplest things, like a little scratch on the skin.
Mhm.
They don't heal. And that is a huge, huge problem. Yeah.
Yes, yes. And as you were talking earlier about explaining the lymphatic system and how important it is to go out there. I remember the first time I met Karen Walsh. I had not met you before. So Karen Walsh, for those of you who are new to the classroom, Karen Walsh is a student of Dr. Gramith who became an instructor under her. And she's always at the summit helping Dr. Jen. And so I remember the first time she was in the classroom, because she's local in Florida, we were talking about different ways, and so I called it the 3 Ps. That because you talked about excreting it, and we talked about perspiration, peeing, and pooping. Did we get that correct?
Yeah.
And she lost it. She could
Yeah.
not keep. She giggled the whole entire time because I ended up calling it the 3 Ps because we couldn't even go beyond that. But so those are ways that we can. And so that was a memory while you were talking, and I kind of
Yeah.
laughed and giggled and put it in my notes. But another memory that came to me was as I was going through the glucose monitoring, which I had, that one of the things that when my glucose level went up, you said to me, go for a walk, jump on the rebounder, doing all those things. And so I'm thinking, wait a minute, that sounds like I also was working on my lymphatic system. So, what
Right.
is the connection of glucose in people with diabetes and the lymphatic system?
Right. So, because those conditions cause tremendous inflammation in the body.
Okay.
And so, what you're trying to do is reduce the inflammation. So, getting your lymphatic system pumping and moving is going to help excrete that inflammation out of the body faster. And so, you will, reduce the glucose numbers, then the inflammation will move its way out of the body. So, exercise is extremely important for your lymphatic system, and that's why most people have some degree of congestion because they're not
Hmm.
moving enough.
Hmm.
And then, of course, the types of foods that you eat, Lillian. Dairy is very mucus forming food for the whether you're sensitive to it or not, it's a mucus forming food and it congests your lymphatic system. So it turns that, watery fluid into a milky fluid, into a buttery fluid, just barely moving through. A lot of people can tell when they, go to bed at night, have a glass of milk, and then morning when they wake up, they're all congested in their sinuses. And it's because your sinuses drain into your lymph nodes that drain down the neck into the thoracic, and it congests it just within minutes. Within minutes, it will congest your lymphatic system. So, there's a lot of causes of a congested lymphatic system. There's the diet. Any inflammatory foods and mucus forming foods will cause congestion in the lymphatic system. Cortisol spikes, stress that causes instant congestion in the lymphatic system, anything that creates inflammation in your body. And that can affect your cognition and, your um, mood and depression and things like that. So we're dealing with superficial lymphatic system and the deeper lymphatic system when we do a lymphatic therapy, and we want to clear both of those, superficial and deep. And that's the difference between a manual lymphatic therapist versus an assisted lymphatic therapist. Manually typically addresses the superficial lymph, which is beneficial for lymphedema and most case most issues. But when you really want to impact the patient's immune system and direct the immune system, you really have to have a tool that gets into the deeper lymphatics. And the majority of your immune system is in the deeper lymphatics, which are in the abdomen, so you've got to be able to get down into that and move it out. And you mentioned your excretory organs, your liver, your kidneys, those are all critical and they get overloaded. And that's what assisted lymphatic therapy does, is help to relieve that and push that out when they get stuck and bogged down. So it's definitely a great therapy. Lymphatic therapy it's the foundational therapy here in my practice and many other practices. And I think it's just key to really boosting one's immune system. And that seems to be the topic of discussion these days, is how do I boost my immune system? How do I protect myself? Because we don't know what's coming around the corner, but we do know that if a person has a strong immune system, a strong lymphatic system, then they're not going to be impacted seriously through any kind of virus or
Yeah.
pathogen that is lurking around the corner. And they're all around us. We're exposed to these things on a daily basis, not one, not two, but
Hmm.
thousands of, these things. And then, environmental toxins is a huge issue. We can't live in a bubble. We're exposed to it always. One thing that I do tell my clients is that detoxification is something that should just be common practice. And so everyone, because the environment that we live in needs to practice, yearly to twice a year, detox programs. You just need to clean out that liver, kidney, colon, so many people in the population struggle with insomnia, constipation, acne, skin issues, headaches, hormone imbalances. These are all just telltale signs of a very compromised immune system. So this is the early things before you get that diagnosis. So, take that seriously. Don't just think, oh, that's just the way I am. I remember as a young nurse working for a colorectal specialist, and um, the first week I was there, we had patients come in and she would ask them, well, how often do you have a bowel movement? And many of them would say, well, maybe once a week, once, every couple of weeks. And she would say, well, has that always been that way? She's concerned initially, and they're like, yeah, as long as I can remember, would say, well, if that's normal for you, then I guess that's okay. And I remember asking her in the kitchen after the patient had left, how is that normal if they're eating 2 to 3 meals a day? Where does all that go? And she said, that's a good question. I'm not sure, and she is a colorectal specialist. And so,
I'm not sure.
yeah, I'm not sure, but it was interesting. I was listening to a podcast this weekend with Dr. Simone, and she was talking about her medical training, and versus, going to law school because she's got both of those, and how it was so different because in law school you're taught critical thinking, and in medical school she said it's basically memorize these facts and you don't question,
Yeah,
anything. You just do what you're told. And you see that. I saw that
yeah,
because it's like there was a disconnect.
yeah,
There's so many practitioners specialize in one system. They don't see how it connects to the other systems of the body.
yeah.
And, that's our goal as functional practitioners is to treat that whole person. So if the issue that they're having is coming from emotional trauma, that's where you want to begin. That's the root of the problem. Is it environmental? Let's go there and let's look there. But as a practitioner, you're going to have to get to the lymphatic system. You're going to have to figure out how to
Yeah.
stimulate it, how to move it, how to decongest it if you want any of your modalities or supplements or
Mm.
programs to work efficiently. And so this is what I have found, and I think that's why I've been more, effective with a lot of the chronic illness, as you know, cancer and
Yeah.
the immune system. That's my specialty, but I do try to look at the holistically the whole person.
Well, it's interesting that you bring up cancer because I wrote down that I wanted to talk about lymph nodes. You had mentioned about the lymph node and how, it goes through that. That's where the buck stops here. It's like the lymph nodes are trying to help, capture all the toxins, and then all of a sudden we get like swollen lymph nodes, and we think that there's something wrong, and in fact that our body is telling us that there's something that's causing the lymph nodes to fight for us. Our lymph nodes,
Right.
if we have a swollen lymph node, we need to know that our lymph nodes are fighting, are trying to help us through this process. However, the allopathic community removes the lymph nodes. So let's
Yeah.
talk about
Yeah.
why that's happening and
Yeah.
what can we do if somebody has had cancer and have had a lot of the lymph nodes removed, how to work to not get lymphedema or something to that effect.
Right, right. And that's just one of the conditions that are caused. So this is a model of a lymph node. This is a very, very enlarged lymph node. So hopefully yours is not this enlarged.
I would
Uh,
say
but
that if you have a lymph node that big, stop right now, go to the emergency room.
exactly. So you're going to have these little green things are all lymphatic vessels, and you're going to have fluid moving through these vessels, coming into the lymph node. And this is where the battleground is. These are where your white blood cells are kind of hanging out, your macrophages. So when the fluid that is tainted with a bacteria or a pathogen, a virus, heavy metals, comes into the lymph nodes, the white blood cells needed to destroy whatever that is are already here and ready to battle this infection. And so what happens is that the fluid comes in, the white blood cells start signaling other white blood cells to start flooding the node. The node will swell, it will destroy the pathogen, and then it will leave the lymph node going to another. So it goes through lots and lots of lymph nodes as a filtration system and a battleground system to destroy these pathogens. So your lymph nodes are critical to optimal immune system. Without the lymph nodes, and if you have fewer lymph nodes, you're going to be, compromised. And so, unfortunately, because we knew so little about the lymphatic system, we really didn't understand initially, 30, 40 years ago, the importance of the lymphatic system. So we did radical lymph node removal, and that's where lymphedema kind of was born, secondary lymphedema. There is a primary lymphedema that you're born with, but you see that few and far between. I mean, I've been doing this 30 years and I've had less than, a dozen cases of primary lymphedema. It's mostly secondary, which means that it was caused by one of our other therapies. So like surgery, radiation, trauma, things like that. And so, the lymphatic nodes, they're supposed to swell when your body is fighting infection, and then they go back down to normal size. So that just is an indicator to us that our body is trying to fight infection. What would be more concerning is if you did not have, if you knew you had an infection, you felt sick, but you didn't have any swollen lymph nodes. Now, you can't palpate all of them, but you can palpate the cervical lymph nodes, the axillary lymph nodes, the inguinal lymph nodes. And if you feel those, and usually a good therapist can palpate them and know if it's viral, bacterial, because it actually feels different in the node. So yeah, it's really interesting. We want to keep our lymph nodes healthy. We want to keep the entire lymphatic system and lymphatic organs functioning. The lymphatic organs are like your spleen, of course, the lymph nodes, the bone marrow, all of that. It's considered part of the lymphatic system, lymphatic organs.
I didn't realize the spleen was considered that. And so many people have their spleen removed,
Yeah.
their gallbladder removed, their appendix removed, as if
Tonsil.
that's going to solve the tonsils removal. And I remember Dr. Lee Cowden saying in the classroom one time that he was on that even if you have your tonsils removed, that there's a deeper level of the tonsils that are still there. And so we need to really be aware that the body is, really trying to protect us here. And it's not
Oh,
just
yeah.
going to, just allow it to just go away. There's still more things so if you're still having problems with your tonsils or that you still have inflammation here, could that be part of the tonsils that were not removed, that were
Mhm.
underneath the surface?
Yeah. Well, the problem is not the tonsils. The tonsils are your sulfur sacs. It's your first line of defense. So you're having things come into the body. It's catching in the tonsils, but you don't have a strong enough immune
Mhm.
system to destroy it. So it stays inflamed. And so that's like if you have, you know, if you have an organ that is overloaded with, heavy metals, you don't just remove the organ, which sometimes they do.
Hmm.
You remove the metals and keep the organ and get it functioning. So same thing with any of these lymphatic organs. You don't want to remove them. They're part of the process of filtration and keeping you healthy. and it's going to compromise your first line of defense by removing the tonsils. And so, they don't do it as radically today as they used to when we were kids. Everybody got their tonsils out. It's like, an excuse to eat ice cream. The worst thing you can eat for your lymphatic system is sugar
Who
and
knew?
dairy. That's
Yes.
what we're feeding them, or Jello with the dyes and the sugar. I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's just ludicrous. The things that we have done. If you study medical history, it is interesting. And you said it, you hit it earlier when you talked about, the science behind it and how it changes. And that's one thing that you learn in medicine, is that what you learn today is probably not going to be relevant, by the time you graduate or get out into the real world. It's constantly evolving and changing,
Yeah.
and it's a very complex systems. Our bodies are miraculous. Only God knows them through and through, and we have just barely scratched the surface
Yeah.
and think that we know it all. But it's interesting because I've been in the field, both allopathic and functional. And the more that I study, the more that I learn, the more I'm in amazement at our body and how, once you think you've got it figured out, maybe not, you
Well,
know?
you need to really be flexible with science and be willing to try new things. When it took that poor man from, I think it was from Austria, I'm trying to remember where he was, 20 years to get doctors to wash their hands,
Oh,
so that
yeah,
it's part of so the people that they were touching, if they went from the morgue to birthing a baby, the mother wouldn't die, to wash.
right.
20 years to change that protocol. We got to question. I remember one time this woman said something to me about she was asking me if I had gotten the jab. And
Yeah.
I had shared with her that no, I hadn't. And she was in the process of getting the second one or whatever. And she says, "Well, I trust science." And I said, "Well, I trust God." It's like, don't, you're going down the wrong path if you're going to trust science, because science
Yeah,
changes
right,
and God's word never does. I mean, we
right.
can interpret it
That's
differently, but,
Yeah,
and it's,
that's true. And that's where you really have got to rest in, and that's where I'm resting in, because it has been proven over and over. Everything that we've learned biblically about how to care for our
Mhm.
bodies never changes.
No,
But in science, and especially in the US. It's constantly fluid, it's constantly changing. And, one day you hear, raw vegan's the best, and then the next day you hear keto or carnivore, which to me is, but there's the science behind it. But when you really start looking into research, you see a lot of the flaws,
yes,
especially here in the US, the way it's conducted. You really have to learn how to read between the lines and get
yeah.
an understanding. But if ever, it just veers off of God's word, I just don't even look at it anymore, because it's always proven to be wrong.
Well,
And
with Robert F. Kennedy Jr., and by the time that this class airs, I'm hoping that he will be in voted into the post that the president has offered him. But to know that he has not only investigated the science, but also has seen the results as an attorney, and I'm looking forward to hopefully some of these myths or scientific facts that are really have been protected by big pharma or whatever, that they'll be known what's true, and like why are there dyes in our food when it's not allowed in other places. So I'm looking forward to seeing what will happen there. But for now, because this is the fastest hour in ever,
yep.
I want to go to talk about how people can learn more about Dr. Jen, and remind you that she is giving away her Dr. Jen's Immune Essential Kit. And so all you have to do to get that is you text me at 407-373-5959, Or you can email me at lily@whenyouneedafriend.com. It's right there, lily@whenyouneedafriend.com, and let me know that you would like to be put into the winner's basket for Dr. Jen's Immuno Essential Kit. And a week from today, we will pick this. And so this is where you get to be your own MD, your own medical detective. Yes, look at the science. There's PubMed.gov. Yes, look at that. But also, I've heard that 98% of the scientists agree with whoever's paying them to do the research. So just keep that in mind as well. That was a cute little meme I saw not too long ago when the pandemic was at its highest. So we
Yeah.
want you to understand that our own um, we have our own internal intuition that is blessed and ordained by God, that is not fear driven, but it is essence driven. And so rely on that to say, and question the science, question your doctor, question all that. And this is where we stop. We stop the buck here on ourselves, that whenyouneedafriend.com. This is where we take ownership for our lives. So I want to encourage you to go to whenyouneedafriend.com. Please subscribe to the website. Share this video with everybody you know. This is how we change the algorithms. Because if the more you make comments, the more emojis are done, the more you share, the less the algorithms can touch us. So please, as we're building up again after being suppressed for 4 years, I'm asking you to please share this video and help Dr. Jen's mission grow. We have all of her information here as well. You can call her at 404-474-2100 or go to Rightway Health and Wellness.com, or you can shop. The things that you hear about today, you can shop at shoprightwayhealth.com. So please support our sponsors the way that they're supporting the classroom. Make sure that you like her social media and her website, all the things that will help support her to grow her mission and her passion. You can also go to my Shop Now bag. In my Shop Now bag are all Lily approved products. These are from head to toe, so check them out. Make sure that you too make a decision to grow, and at least you know that some of these are affiliates which give the classroom a little bit, but for the most part, these are products that I absolutely love, whether I get a commission or not. These are very, very selective products. And so another thing that you can help grow the classroom is that you can become an enrolled student in the classroom. And whether it's $1 or $1,000 a month, a one-time donation of your time, your talent, your treasure, all of it, all of it is appreciated. But not as much as we appreciate Dr. Jen coming in the classroom, knowing that she is coming here with a gift for all of us. And so make sure that you text me or email me so that you can say, I want Dr. Jen's Immune Essential Kit that she's going to be giving one of you. So your name will be put into the winner's basket, and then one of you will be selected in a week from today. So Dr. Jen, thank you. You could be anywhere. You could be doing whatever you want to do, but you choose to sponsor me and be a part in alignment with the work that we're doing. So I just want to say thank you. I really do appreciate everything you do.
Oh, you're welcome. It's a blessing. Thank you.
And Dr. Jen, once again, is going to be one of the speakers at the I Am the Solution Natural Health Summit. And we're going to be focusing on cancer and autoimmune conditions. So I'm really excited for Dr. Jen because this is where she also shines. It's her expertise, which is cancer, when autoimmune conditions can lead to cancer, just like all roads lead to the immune lymphatic system. So,
Mhm.
Dr. Jen, you earlier said the word XP2. You said that
Mhm.
word. Then you also said that we need to eliminate the metals, but you didn't say how. So I want to talk about the how now. How
Okay.
now, brown cow? So I was like, how, what am I saying? Okay, so I want to talk about the how.
Okay.
With the elimination of metals, because there's a lot of people that have, because of the way they've been eating, need to detox these metals. are you referring to chelation, or does the lymphatic XP2, the assisted lymphatic drainage, help with that as well?
So yeah, it does help with that as well. You want to definitely do assisted lymphatic therapy when you are doing a oral heavy metal cleanse. So whether it's chelation like EDTA, or you're just using cilantro or other types of greens that bind to these metals and pull them out, you want to make sure that they get out of the body. They don't get trapped in any of the elimination organs like the kidney and the liver and cause damage. So definitely you would want to do the assisted lymphatic therapy for that. One thing about the assisted lymphatic therapy, it uses a device, the XP2, which is what you heard me talk about. In that machine is the inert gases, argon, krypton, and xenon gases. Two of those gases decongest the lymph, so they dissolve that buttery cottage cheese, or even in some cases, fibrotic tissue and fluid, and it turns it back into the watery state the fluid should be, so that it can easily, go through and travel through the lymphatic system. And so that's how it's so much more beneficial. So it's not just moving congested lymph like you would manually move it from one area to the other. It's actually dissolving the inflammation, the congestion at various different states of congestion and putting it back into a watery state. That's why, we can bring down an edemic extremity very quickly. But you do need binders for metals. You need to make sure that you're taking something to bind the metal, not just pull it out of the organ gland like the thyroid and not bind it. You need to bind it so that it doesn't damage your liver or your kidneys as you excrete that out. So yeah, so heavy metals is a big issue. And what people don't realize is that you're probably never going to get all of the metals out of your body. Lead gets into the bone. It may take 100 years of detox before you get all that lead out of the body. And it's not necessary. The main thing that you have to know is, where is your immune system functioning? Is it at 50%, 70%, 80%, 30%? And then once you understand that, where it kind of lies, you have to keep your burdens below what the immune system can handle. So that would determine how often you need to do these types of detox. Do you need to do it every 3 months for a month? Do you need to do it 6 months? Once a year is okay for you, because you don't have that much of a burden, or your immune system is extremely strong. So it's different for everyone. And there's ways to understand where your immune system is. There's labs, there's biofeedback testing to kind of get that percentage of where your immune system is functioning. And then, set up programs and protocols according to that. And these are things that, once you have worked with a practitioner like myself, you should be able to do these on your own, every year.
Okay, so when you say on your own, are you talking about with with saunas or exercise, or can you
Rebounding,
elaborate? Rebounding.
saunas, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, anything like that. You may go and get lymphatic too or whatever, but you won't necessarily have to always be guided. Once you know what your exposures are, like when you get tested and, I tell you, oh, you have a heavy load of mercury, you have, other endocrine disruptors, you need to quit using plastics. Once you have this information, then you can do something about it, and you just continue that process. Like I said, it should become, just like your spring cleaning, you're going to spring clean your body at least once a year. Most people need it more than once a year, twice a year.
Before because time just goes so fast when we're together, I
I
would
know.
love for you to talk about your Dr. Jen's gut repair
Yeah.
app
What's
that
in
you
it?
have as well.
Yeah, yeah. So that's a great way, and that's was the main reason I developed that, was to walk people through the 30-day gut repair program, which is so much more than just gut repair because it's immune repair, it's immune boosting, it's anti-inflammatory, it's teaching you the very principles of fasting. And so we talk about, the first week of the gut repair program in the app will walk you through intermittent fasting, everything that you need to know about it and what's appropriate for you based upon your conditions. And then the next week is going to teach you all about juice fasting and how it can be so beneficial, and then how to monitor yourself to make sure you're doing the right types of juicing and you're not, doing all fruit juice that's going to spike your blood sugar. We can even monitor your blood sugar during this 30-day detox program. And then the third week is really about water fasting and learning the principles of water fasting and how to reverse type 2 diabetes and insulin resistance and balance your hormones. And just, it's a beautiful thing. And then the very last week is going to help you to understand what type of diet and lifestyle should I continue after the detox. And so you're going to test out, ketogenic versus plant-based versus a mixture of, whole foods. And you're going to see by monitoring yourself what is the best thing for you, because everybody's different. And that's something that we've learned. There's not a one diet that fits all, not for a lifetime. There are, I mean, some of the best crisis diets is raw vegan, juice fasting, things like that. That has been proven over and over again. But for long-term health, what do you need? What does your body require?
Well, I gave a talk about cancer, holistic cancer therapies and solutions, and I remember it was towards the talk was the audience was vegan, and
Mhm.
one of the guys kind of like pounced on me because he thought that I didn't know anything about being vegan, and the leader said, "Hey, that's how we met her. She's changed her whole life because she was vegan." And today I am not considered vegan, but I have a tendency to be whole food I am completely whole food
Plant-based.
plant-based. But the whole thing was that we believe that our way is the best way, and that, hey, I'm glad that that works for you, but that may not work because there are essential minerals in meats too.
Right.
And so
Amino acids.
and even the facilitator who had asked me to give this talk, she said, "Hey, vegans get cancer too."
Yeah,
If, so
exactly.
we
And heart
really,
disease, and yeah.
and some other people say they get um dementia, they get other conditions as well. So because of this, I want to briefly talk about emotions. How do
Mhm.
emotions clog up the lymphatic system? Can they clog up the lymphatic system? Because that's one of my favorite topics is
Yeah.
emotions.
Mine and yours both. Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. That's one thing you said is very important for people to remember. All diseases either come from a deficiency or an excess. Okay, that's the two options. You either have deficiency or something and excess of things you don't need.
Mhm.
That's what leads to disease in the body. Emotions are another key factor. And, we've talked about my journey and how I got involved in emotional work. And it was because working with cancer patients and chronically ill, there was always emotional trauma. So there are emotions, anger, resentment, the emotions with very low frequencies that really weaken your immune system will cause stagnation in the blood. And it's actually been measured in science, the stagnation that it causes in minutes. So if you are, delivered, terrible news that really hurts you and upsets you, within 10 minutes, your lymphatic system goes from free flowing to very thick, congested, buttery like consistency. and inflamed. It becomes inflamed just like that. And so imagine people who have a lot of emotional stress and trauma on a daily basis. They have a very stressful job. It's just they're in a state of chronic inflammation. And that those are the individuals, if you're not addressing that root cause, they may be eating as healthy as can be. They may be exercising, but it's that chronic drip, drip, drip of stress that is keeping them unhealthy. And so, like we talked about, everybody's different, and it's usually never just one thing causing disease. It's usually a combination of deficiencies, excess, and emotional trauma. But to what degree and what emotions and what excesses and what deficiencies is very different. And that's where you have to put on your medical detective hat, and you have to go to work and you have to look for those
Yes,
factors.
absolutely. And I just want to add, for those of you who are watching today, how you can get a hold of Dr. Jen. You can also remember to put Lily 20 to get a discount when you purchase anything from Dr. Jen. But you can go to Rightway Health and Wellness.com or shop rightwayhealth.com to get more information. You can call them and make an appointment because she does telemedicine as well, and her associates as well do the
Yes, my
telemedicine.
team.
You can call 404-474-2100. And one last thing I want to add is if people want to know who you've trained, how can they find that on your website?
Yeah, so they can go to our website. There is a directory. You can also go to our Facebook page. There's a directory on that. So you just put in your state and it'll tell you all of the therapists in your area.
Very good. One last final word before we go. Can you imagine this just flies?
I know, it just flies
Just
by. I think we
flies.
need a 3-hour podcast. Um,
We can
I'll
arrange
just
that.
tell you real quick of what's in the Dr. Jen's Immuno Kit. I pulled together the things that I have found most people need to boost their immune system. So there's a great plant-based vitamin C. There is probiotics that has 18 different strains of good bacteria. There's green tea, which is a great anti-inflammatory antioxidant, and the wonderful immuno blend. And it comes in either liquid, which is wonderful if you have any kind of periodontal disease or gum issues. You can put it in your water pick, and within days it will clear that up. I love that stuff. I use it every day. And then it comes in capsules as well, just to keep down pathogen, bacterias, virus, funguses. So it's made from essential oils and just really good round of herbals in there that are all antimicrobial.
Well, make sure that for those of you who are watching or listening on podcasts, you too can join us. Just text us at 407-373-5959. Let me know that you're interested in getting Dr. Jen's Immuno Essential Kit for today's giveaway from Dr. Jen. And remember to go to her website and let her know that if you purchase anything or if you want get 20% off your bill, it's Lily20. Thank you so much, Dr. Jen, for all the information that you bring and bless us with. I'm excited that tomorrow we'll be getting together and seeing each other in West Palm Beach for the cancer conference there. And we'll be able to not only reconnect, but giggle like silly girls that we do when we get together. And so,
Exactly.
Thank you. And please remember, we'll be right here waiting for you worldwide at whenyouneedafriend.com. This is Lily McDermott and Dr. Jennifer Gramith wishing you love, peace, joy, and unexpected abundance. Make it the best day ever.
The opinions and advice expressed on the Lillian McDermott radio show are intended for the individual callers and guests on the program and are presented to our wider audience solely for general educational purposes. Please act responsibly and consult personally with your own medical, psychological, or nutritional expert before taking any steps to improve your life.